feminism is not what you think. Women's rights, and today we're going to talk about the delicate topic of feminism.
Yes.
That's not what you think. Feminism is not what you think. I love being a feminine woman, but it doesn't mean that I'm an oppressed woman. Priscilla, can you share with the audience a little bit and with me about your background and how you got pulled into that?
I grew up in a very traditional home. My parents are very liberal politically, but my dad was a provider. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. She'd been a school teacher, stopped when she married and got pregnant, and stayed at home. So I was not from a feminist household at all. But I went to college, which was very liberal, hippie sort of thing, communist, as we know now, Marxist, sociological sort of stuff. And so there was a lot of gender studies going on there. And this is the mid-'80s. Okay. Wow. So I had friends who tried out lesbianism. I never did. But there was just all this. That was the tone of the campus. I did my thesis in sociology on the images of women in sitcoms. So I was focused on learning about women's equality, and I remember getting mad at my dad about, like, why didn't you teach me how to mow the lawn? Why didn't you let me do chores with you? Why don't I do what Robert did? So I was getting in that equality mindset. And then my first job out of college in Boston was for the Feminist Majority Foundation, which was one of the 5 national women's organizations at the time. And this one was focused on abortion rights, as well as RU486, which was the abortion pill, which is now in use. It's the reason abortions are still happening despite Roe v. Wade being overturned and it going back to the states. People are mailing those in, and it's really hard for me, knowing that I was in charge of the petition drive. I was in charge of that database for 2 years. So
basically, you're kind of like, this is a whistleblowing episode, y'all, because she was there when it happened. She knows the behind the scenes. The things that we think, the things that they sell us, is not always what it looks like. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was. There was a lot of infighting between all the organizations. They all backstab. It's so sad. It's not a feel-good place. They all hate God. They all hate men. Not all. Okay. 8% at least. Okay. There were some women who were married and feminists, but mostly lesbian. There was a lot of, like, Priscilla, don't you want to go out with my friend who's a girl? Like, don't you want to try it? Like, why do you like men? I mean, it was really, there was a lot of pressure that way too. And a lot of depopulation focus, pro-abortion, not just pro-choice. I was pro-choice. I was like, yeah, we all need our rights, I didn't know better until I became a Christian just 3 years ago. That's when I went, I got to rethink this abortion choice right thing, Sure. So I've been learning, a big learning curve for me in my mid-50s. But but I got very brainwashed there with, like, national leaders. I mean, the big boss of our organization was the one who started, who really promoted and fought for the ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, in the 70s. And I remember seeing her as a child on television when they used to have both sides presented all the time. Until Clinton, they used to have to do that on national television. They would have pro and against whatever subject all the time. So anyway, Phyllis Schlafly was on there, who I now think is amazing. But at the time, my mom's like, my mom hated her. And she was a lawyer, and yet she was, for women being in the home, my mom thought that was hypocritical. But, anyway. So she was a very smart lady who was feminine women, not pro-feminist. And Eleanor Smeal was fighting or arguing for the ERA, Equal Rights Amendment, which would change the Constitution, right? They wanted to change the Constitution. It failed because of Phyllis Schlafly, mostly. But anyway, that woman, Eleanor Smeal, was the boss of ERA, and I knew her because of that debate. And so I was like, oh, I want to work for her. And the stars in my eyes, So anyway, so our organization had this petition drive and worked very hard to get RU486, and they were working with this pharmaceutical company in Germany and sending petitions over there, and they went and visited and all this stuff. And I finally left. I remember at the time, it was really hard. Whenever I tell anyone I work for the Feminist Majority Foundation, they're like, oh, especially men. They're like, really? And now it's like, cool, right? Kind of in most of the secular culture, it's cool to be a feminist, but it was not when I was. So, sure. Anyway, I just got fully bathed in all of that ideology, and it took me about 10 years to go, I don't want to hate men anymore. This isn't really very fun.